There we go. Awesome. Hi everybody. Welcome to the Kids Health Revolution Kitchen, where we are back with another school snack series. And this is all about changing our children's health, making dramatic improvements to our kids' health when they have chronic health conditions, or just when we want to make sure that we're supporting their health in the best way we can. And the headquarters where that all goes down is in our kitchens. Our kitchens are the place where we have immense power to make a difference, a huge difference in our kids' health. And it happens one little recipe at a time. And that's what this series is all about, bringing you super simple recipes that you can make just in a few minutes. You can batch cook them and put them in your fridge or your freezer, and then you know you have great nutrient-dense whole foods that can really power your kids through all of their activities, knowing that you're supporting their health in the best way that you can. So I'm just gonna put my glasses on here just in case somebody writes a comment or something, and then I'm actually maybe able to see what you're writing on there for me. So hello to everybody out in the Kids Health Revolution world, as well as on our private page. I'm so happy to have you here with me again today. If you have any questions as we're rolling along, please feel free to post those. If I can see it, I will be happy to answer it as we go. If not, I will scroll through them later and make sure that I get all of your questions answered. If you have not joined us yet in the Kids Health Revolution community, I would suggest that you do that. You can pop over to the private Facebook page as well as to the website, so the Kids Health Revolution website, where if you join the community, you will actually be able to download the copies of all of our school snack series. So this is the 7th. You'll have access to all of those in the private Facebook community. You can get them from the files. And as well, if you're a community member, you've joined on the website, then you will get a copy of the recipe right into your inbox each week as well. And over in the community on the website, we have other tools and resources for you to help you on this journey of taking your child's health back. A leaky gut quiz, more recipes, 20 fabulous freezer recipes, food cheat sheets, so it's like green light, red light, yellow light foods, all kinds of good stuff for you over there. So if you're on this journey and you're working on taking your child's health back naturally using food and natural approaches, then please become a member. We've got all kinds of good stuff for you, and I love getting questions. We have great support going on in this wonderful private community we have over in Facebook. Lots of questions and answers happening, and I just love to see that. We're a small group so far, we're growing, which is wonderful, but lots of participation. So I'm so happy that you guys are really talking to each other and helping each other out, because you know what? Other mums on this journey are one of your best resources for information. So let's hop into this recipe that we're doing today. We're doing just peachy bites, and this is what we're gonna be coming out with at the end of our time together today. They're super quick. We're just gonna whip them up in the food processor, and they are of course packed full of all kinds of nutrition that your kids will thrive on, but they're so tasty they're not gonna know they're there. Okay, so the good old food processor again, as always, my best friend in the kitchen. And we're gonna go with dried peaches. So these are beautiful, just peach halves that have been dehydrated. And I bought these here in Calgary at Community Foods. I'm sure you can get them at other health food stores. Or if you were to buy a case of fresh peaches, because they're fresh right now, you could very easily dehydrate your own if you have a dehydrator or in your oven on a very low temperature. You could take that extra step and make them yourself. So we're gonna put about a cup of dehydrated peaches in here. Now I can't find my measuring cup, if you can believe it. I lost my cup measuring cup. So I know approximately how much of these that I need to put in. So I'm just gonna estimate it, and I encourage you guys to estimate too, because you know what? With these recipes, there really is no going wrong. We just have to look for the right texture. As long as they're holding together and sticking together, you're good. So if you add a little bit of extra in, it's not a big problem. So I put those in, and the first thing I like to do is just run the food processor for a couple of seconds just to really roughly chop them before we start adding in the other ingredients. Okay, so we've got a rough chop on those peaches, and now we're gonna start layering in all kinds of great nutrition into this, as well as great flavor. So one of the other things that's going in here is some ginger. Ginger is beautiful for helping with digestion. It's good for helping with liver health, great for the gallbladder. It's anti-inflammatory, all kinds of great stuff in this little piece of goodness. So this is about, I don't know, what would you say, 1.5 inches? You could do a little bit more if your child is open to the taste of ginger. 1.5 inches of a fresh ginger root just peeled up there. So that just goes directly into the food processor. I'm gonna add in a little bit of honey to this. Now this is optional. You don't have to add the extra sweetener in, but I do find that just a tablespoon of honey in the whole recipe just helps to punch up the flavor of the dried peaches. So I do add it in, but if you're trying to cut down more on the sugars in your child's diet, then you could certainly just leave that out. It would be perfectly fine without it. I forgot to put my little cloth out to wipe my fingers, so I'm just gonna lick them off. Since I'm not serving these to anybody else, why not, right? That's one of the joys of getting to cook in the kitchen, is these little nibbles that we take. So honey goes in there, and then I've included some MCT oil. So this is coconut oil that is specifically refined into a product that's MCT oil, so it's liquid. And this is a medium chain triglyceride, and I've talked about this before. It's super great for our mitochondria because it's very quickly available energy. And that helps our kids that might have mitochondrial dysfunction. And we know that a lot of children with autoimmune, autism and ADHD, even eczema, that mitochondrial dysfunction can be an issue for them. So providing them with that really easy fuel source from the fat in the MCT oil is a really great thing to do. So we're just gonna give this a little quick process. I see a little question over here. I'm just gonna get a little closer so I can see it. Now I have the wrong ones on. Oh, just a little wave. Okay, hi Rebecca. Nice to see you. I'm glad you could tune in today. Okay, so if you don't have MCT oil, what if you don't happen to have this? That's okay. You could just use regular coconut oil, would be fine, or skip it. It wouldn't make a big, huge difference to the recipe. You're still gonna have a lot of great nutrients in there. So then we're gonna add in some nuts, and this time I have used nuts in this recipe because the nuts I'm using have a really great nutrient profile to them that I think is, you know, it's important to switch up the nutrients that we're using so that we get a wide variety of nutrition into our kids. Now, if you are making these for a summer camp or for school and you're not able to put the nuts in because it has to be nut-free, then you could certainly substitute the nuts and put in sunflower seeds. You could use pumpkin seeds as well. You could add in extra of the coconut that we're going to put in. So you can certainly get around using the nuts. So I put in about 1/2 cup of the walnuts. And walnuts are an incredible source of nutrition. They are super duper high. They're one of the highest foods sources of omega, or plant-based sources of omega-3 fatty acids. And those omega-3 fatty acids are the ones that are so important for supporting our children's brain health, as well as being anti-inflammatory. And it's kind of funny when you look at a walnut, a lot of people say, if we can find one here, that it kind of has, it looks very similar. It's sort of shaped like a brain, right? And so they sort of joke that eating the foods that are shaped like brains is good for our brain health, but the real reason is because they're so packed full of omega-3 fatty acids. They're also a decent source of selenium, which is not an easy nutrient to find since our soil is being so depleted. A good source of iodine. So it's unusual to find a source of iodine that's not seafood related or kelp related, and walnuts are a good source. So also you've got a bit of protein in there, just a really rich source of all kinds of goodness. So those go in, and then we're going to put in some Brazil nuts, and Brazil nuts are one of the richest sources of selenium, especially if you're getting organic ones that are going to be grown in really nutrient-dense soil. Awesome selenium, and they're actually a good source of magnesium as well, which we know we need to get more of for our kiddos. So those go in, and then we're going to add in some coconut flakes. Now, if your child doesn't like coconut, you can certainly skip this and just add in more of the other dry ingredients, or add in some seeds of some kind. You could certainly do that. So I believe it was about half a cup of this. I'm going to add just a little bit more because I didn't have a full cup full. And then, last but not least, we're going to put in some hemp seeds. And hemp seeds are wonderful and as a source of protein. They are a complete protein, all in and of themselves. And they're also, again, really great for those omega fatty acids that are so protective for brain health and anti-inflammatory. Looks like I need a new bag. So we're just putting a quarter cup of those in. If your child has a palate that's pretty, you know, whole foods sophisticated, let's say, they've been on the whole foods diet, lifestyle for quite some time, then you could add a little bit more of those if you wanted to. But hemp seeds do have a fairly powerful, pungent taste to them. So if you're just starting out, you might want to start with a little bit less until they become accustomed to it, and then start to increase the hemp that you're adding into the recipe. I would highly recommend that you give it a try though, because it is such a great source of nutrition, especially for people who live here in Canada, because this is a very locally grown product that we can get all kinds of amazing nutrition from, and it's here close to us. So that means that it's even better nutrition, right? So again, if you look for organic, even better, because it's going to be grown in that really nutrient-rich soil. You're going to get all of the goodness out of it. So there you go. It's all in the food processor. We're going to let it run for, you know, a minute or so probably, to really blend all of this stuff together, and then we'll make them into pretty little cookies. Now's a great time to pop over to our private Kids Health Revolution Facebook page and become a member really quick while you're waiting for me to do this. My kid's signaling to me in the background, but I'm not sure what he's talking about. What is it you need, honey? Oh, you're done your reading. Okay, very good. Okay, so we have it sort of roughly chopped at this point. There's still fairly large chunks of the nuts there. I'd like to take it down just a little tiny bit finer. You can certainly stop it there if you wanted to. We forgot, or I forgot, is a little bit of salt. We always want to add just a pinch of sea salt or Himalayan rock salt into these recipes, even though they're sweet recipes, because it really helps punch up the flavor. Oopsie. Okay. So now that's a little bit more finely ground down, if you can see that. And now we're just going to simply gather up a handful of it, just a small handful, if you can see about how much I have there. Sometimes I'll use a tablespoon if I want to really be sort of precise in measuring these out. For the most part, I don't worry about it much. And I just squeeze it together. You see how it nicely forms together into a ball. What you will find when you're using walnuts in a recipe like this is if you blend it too much, it will become very oily because they very quickly release their fats, but that's okay. You'll just have more oil on your hands. So you could make a little energy ball with these. That's one way you could go. And you could just put them in the fridge and eat them like this. It'd be perfect. The other thing that you can do, if you'd like to have just slightly different presentation every now and then. What, sweetheart? You want the scissors, okay. Is make them into little flat cookies. Now, sometimes I'm really picky about how precise I do this, so I kind of make an okay sign with my fingers and just squish it flat that way. And if I'm wanting to have a Pinterest-worthy, Facebook-worthy shape, then I'll take the time to do that. So I'll do that with a few of them sometimes to get the picture. Other than that, I don't generally worry too much about it having the perfect shape because really, who has the time? So we just squeeze them together and flatten them out into a little cookie. You could make them smaller or bigger than this, totally up to you in terms of what you think your kiddos would be most happy with. Okay, and sometimes you'll notice that you get a little too much batter in your hand, it's a little too thick. Just take it out and start over. Really, there's no messing this up. The other thing that you could do with it, if you didn't want to mess around with taking the time to make individual little cookies, is you could certainly flatten this out, line like a cake pan, just a regular sort of, sorry, that's loud. You could line a pan like this with some parchment and just press it into the pan and dehydrate it that way. And then just slice it into squares. That would work perfectly as well. So I'm not going to bore you with going through and doing each and every cookie, but this will make, you know, if we're doing them about this size, it'll make about a dozen cookies, maybe a little bit more than that. And what I do with these is I will pop them into the oven on its lowest temperature. So my oven goes quite low, so I put them in at 110 or 15 degrees and leave them overnight. And what it does is it just forms this nice crust on the outside of the cookie, and then they're nice and soft and chewy on the inside. And I just find that it helps to sort of intensify the ginger and the peachy flavors to them. And I like them that way. So again, you could skip this step if you wanted to just make them like this, put them in the fridge and let them kind of harden together a little bit more and eat them just like that. Or you can take the step of dehydrating them and just bringing out the flavors a little bit more. Totally up to you. So we talked about all the nutrients in there. We've got all kinds of good stuff for supporting health. We've got selenium, we've got magnesium, iodine, which is good for thyroid health. We've got good fatty acids for mitochondria from the MCT oil, from the walnuts and the Brazil nuts. We have amazing omega fatty acids, and they're not super high in sugar. Yes, okay, dried fruit is fairly high in sugar, but you know, there's only a cup in this whole recipe. We've got lots of fat to balance out that blood sugar, and we've got some good protein in here along with the hemp seeds. So all kinds of good nutrition. If you were to feed your kid 2 or 3 of those, it would be a great snack. Lots of energy, lots of good nutrition, and they're gonna love them. My son tried them this morning, and he did give me the thumbs up and the approval that that was a good recipe. So that's always a good sign. All right, so that was it today. Another really quick, simple, easy recipe. Feel free to make it your own. Add in seeds instead of nuts. Change it up. There's no right or wrong here. Use apricots instead of peaches. I use peaches because they're in season right now, and that means that they're a bit more nutrient dense, right? But whatever you have on hand, you can use to make recipes like this. And that's what I'm always encouraging you to do. So if you're in the private Facebook community, you don't have dried peaches at home, but you have dried apples, go ahead and make them with apples. They'll taste great. And I love it when you guys post your pictures of your little kiddos enjoying the creations that you've come up with. So please keep doing that. It's lots of fun to see the little guys enjoying their foods and their whole foods. And mine's trying to sneak back onto camera. Do you want to come and tell me how these taste if we don't bake them? Just like this, raw? No, you're gonna be shy now. Only likes to just breeze by into the camera, but not actually participate, which is fine. I'll do it. So I'm just gonna take a little bite here. I like it. You sure? You want to try it?
I'm sure.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Remember, if you want to get the downloadable recipes, join us and join the conversation over on the private Facebook group, Kids Health Revolution private group, and make sure you also join the community on the website at kidshealthrevolution.com. I really look forward to getting to know you better over there. And bye to everybody in the group. I will post the downloadable recipe for you right away. Take good care. Oh, I'm gonna go over here and turn these guys off first.
Is it off yet?
Not yet.